I received a call from an unknown number, and when I answered it, it turned out to be my childhood friend. We had always been together from school days through college. After I got married, we had not met for a while because she was busy with her job and could not attend my wedding. So I invited her to my home. Since my husband had never met her, I told him that my close friend was coming over for lunch today. However, due to an urgent meeting, he could not stay home and went to the office. At 2 p.m., the doorbell rang and she arrived. I was so happy to see her and hugged her tightly. She asked about my husband and I told her he was at the office. It had been almost 6 years since we last met and we had so much to talk about. We started remembering about our college days, had lunch together, and then she left for home. It was a day well spent. When my husband returned from the office, I told him everything. He suggested call her over again. I agreed, saying I would invite her soon. Luckily, the next morning at 10 a.m., I received a call from her. She said, I got a holiday from work, so I'm coming to your house tomorrow. I was thrilled and replied, Yes, dear, you're always welcome. However, I didn't tell my husband about her visit. The next morning, around 10 a.m., the doorbell rang and she arrived again. This time, my husband was home. I called him to join us, and I noticed he seemed uncomfortable around her. I thought it might be because she was my female friend, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Both of them talked casually while I was around, but when I stepped out of the room for a while, I noticed the atmosphere was silent when I returned. I brought tea into the room, but I found the hall empty. I realized they were talking in the other room. It felt as if they knew each other quite well. When I entered, I saw my friend's eyes were teary, but I called them out for tea, pretending not to notice. She left after a while, and I observed that my husband was unusually quiet. I thought it might be because of some office work or a meeting. The next day, while I was on my way to the market, I saw my husband standing and talking to a girl. I saw far away and could not recognize her at first, but as I got closer, I realized it was none other than my childhood friend. I returned home, and later in the evening, when my husband came back, I asked him directly, In the morning, I saw you near the market road. He denied it and said I was at the office. For the past 4 to 5 days, I had noticed him behaving strangely, talking on the phone a lot, and being distant. He had even stopped talking to me much. Meanwhile, my parents had been asking me to visit them since it had been a long time since I had last met them. I decided to go and asked my husband for the permission. Surprisingly, He said yes, or else he would say, I can't live without you for so many days. But he was quiet and just told yes. I decided to visit my parents, but halfway there, I learned that they had gone to visit some temples and wouldn't return for 2 to 3 days. Since they weren't home, I decided to return. While I was away, my husband called his ex to our house and spent half the day with her. I I returned home at around 6 p.m. and since my husband didn't know that I was coming back, I thought I would surprise him. I rang the doorbell and to my shock, it was my childhood friend who opened the door. I was stunned to see and calmly asked, What are you doing here in my house when I'm not at home? My husband appeared clearly shocked to see me. I turned to him and asked, What's going on? He hesitated for a moment and then said, I'm sorry. Your friend is none other than my ex girlfriend, whom I loved but couldn't marry. My husband confessed, and yes, it was me you saw at the market. After hearing the truth, my friend apologized for hiding it. She said, That day when I saw your husband, I was overwhelmed by memories of the past and forgot that today he is your husband and I have no right to come in between you. I'm truly sorry. I will never come here again. If possible, please forgive me. Then she left. My husband apologized as well and promised that he would never hide anything from me again. I decided to trust him and forgave him.